Live.
Good afternoon, John. It's Sarah Sanders here from the Strive Group and want to welcome you to the engagement tree with us today. John, our paths have crossed from afar, I guess, within the same industries, but a recent post you put onto social media caught my eye in a very honest and open way. You talked about how yourself as CEO of the Neuven Group is approaching this unprecedented time and how you are moving forward for your clients and your teams. So welcome today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So first of all, for those of our viewers who don't know yourself or Neuven, could you just tell us a little bit about your career and Neuven's life journey?
Yeah, I mean, my career was basically, as you say, in the staffing sector to start with. So I started off on a temp desk with Adecco. It was Echo at the time, actually, before the merger with Adia. So I started off on a temporaries desk in Croydon many years ago, and managed to work my way through to being on the UK board, and was an ops director on the UK board before leaving. Then I had various sort of MD and CEO jobs in the industry. So we did recruitment staffing firms before actually sort of taking a year out and looking around to see what I wanted to do. Almost ended up starting up a sports agency, but that didn't quite materialise. And actually got contacted by a former client who said, if you went back into vendor neutral world, the cost reduction compliance world, as long as you proved that you had robust compliance systems, we'll give you a go. So Neuven started trading, although it had been incorporated a few years earlier. It was doing nothing. I got involved in 2010. We built the systems. That client was as good as their word, gave us an opportunity to go in and look after their temp labour. So basically sit between their supplying agencies and them as an end client, help control the spend levels and the on costs, etc. Give them some compliance benefits. They're as good as their word. They trusted us. I'll be forever grateful for that because we were untried, we were brand new, and they were a decent name client, big name client, and they gave us the opportunity. And that went well, and we traded with them. We're still with them to this day, so it's been an enduring relationship. So from that being nothing, we now turn over between 350 and 400 million this year. So it's been a fairly decent growth. And from me and my first colleague sitting in a tiny little office, actually in the same building as we're in nowadays, but we started off just in a tiny little office. We've now grown it to almost 50 people and loads of outsourced people as well. And it's good. Yeah, no, we've a great team built on this will be down to having a great team. That's where we've got to where we are today.
Fabulous.
Fantastic 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So, obviously challenging times to all. Knowing ex-colleagues and people that work with yourself and for yourself at Neuven, I know how important your team and your staff are to yourself and your senior leadership team. So during these difficult times, what support mechanisms have you been either implementing to date or are looking to implement in the future to support your wider teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, actually, because I think we were talking just before we went live on here that this is totally unprecedented. And any planning, other than looking at maybe what's happened in other countries, is really difficult. We just don't know where this is going to turn next. We don't know when it's going to disappear. We don't know, how long it's going to affect certain parts of industry. So I think the view we took was that we obviously saw it was kind of like everyone, you could see what was coming, and that events were getting more and more serious, almost by the day, and things were moving daily. So a couple of weeks before this hit, we started the whole cycle of investing in equipment for people to be able to work at home, to actually get people out of the office. Because look, this business is my baby to an extent, and actually is, I think, the directors and a lot of people within the business, it's vitally important to them. But it's not more important than the health of their families or their own health. So that's what we had to put first. So the first thing was, look, how do we get people safe? Secondly, how do we get people safe and support the business? So how can we come up with that That was the solution. So we invested in all the equipment so people were able to work at home. And we then started waves of people actually beginning to work from home. Tested it, made sure they were okay. And splitting teams, so we had half the teams in the office, half the teams at home, making sure that was robust at home. Then released the second wave into home working, and it was the rather eerie day. I think a week ago Monday just gone. We let the last of them go, and I think I said at the time, I think in that post that you're referring to, Sarah, I said it was a little bit like a dad watching his kids, sort of like, you know, leaving home for the summer, hoping they're going to be safe and well. So, you know, that went. It was just left with me and Martin, our FD here in the office at the time. And then you talk about the support mechanism. I think one of the best things that I've had, where I've been incredibly lucky, is we've just got a really, really strong team. And you know, I think I could sit here and tell you the ins and outs of how brilliantly I've planned this, and it's worked okay so far. But it would have stood for nothing if we'd had people that weren't willing to go along with it, do their bit. You know, we had not a word of dissent from anyone. We didn't have anyone saying to us, you know, we don't like the idea of doing this, we don't like the idea of doing that. They supported what we're doing completely. And that was led with a team of directors that I've got that share my view on the way people should be treated and the way the company should be run. So it just makes life a lot easier. The message was very clear going down. They're not soft, but they're empathetic. So they were being very clear to people about what was going to be required and what we needed from them, but also making sure people were looked after and okay. So that made the transfer to home easier. You know, it made do that properly. Support, you say support. I think the support is all being based around communication, and I think that's both to clients and to our internal colleagues. We basically decided, and we actually were very clear about this, that we would over-communicate, if anything. Yeah. So we have set Zoom and Teams meetings arranged at various times of the week. We have individuals set meetings with their managers where they can check in with them. But we've also tried to have a matrix approach where we tried to say through to me, the directors, look, contact us whenever you need to. Just contact us, and we'll talk. I've basically taken a schedule of just ringing around people randomly just to see how they are. I'm sure they love that. You know, sitting there, and John pops up on the screen is probably one of the most frightening things I've had to go through in the whole family. You know, it's the idea is to make people feel okay, and so that's been the support, I think, in staff-wise. We're trying to make sure people don't feel isolated. We're trying to make sure people feel connected. And I think, said this to people recently, we've had an interesting journey with this, because last week was the first time everyone was based at home. That is totally new for Neuven, totally new that we're remote. We don't work remotely. And I think there was a bit of excitement. It was new, a bit of the Dunkirk spirit. It was all new, and there was a bit of a bounce, and it was exciting, and you know, we were able to almost share stories and enjoy that. I think where we need to be very careful on the support thing is, as this goes on, if it does go on much longer, there's a danger that excitement goes. So work-wise, we keep motivation up. But you know, it's all very well if you've got a big house and a big garden, you can go out and you can play with the kids and you can do whatever and get away, and you've got your own workspace. But some people are in, you know, small flats, they're on their own, and it can be quite lonely, you know, quite isolating, quite lonely, and we've got to be very aware of that. This just isn't about work. This is about the people. You know, it's not about the technology. It's all about the people. The technology helps us communicate. It's how we do it. And we've got to be aware that we are checking on those people that maybe are going a bit quieter, and you think, well, actually, they're stuck in a flat on their own, not allowed to go out even, you know, other than for a walk. That could start playing on people's minds. So we're very mindful of that. Whether we get it right or not, I don't know. We're going to try the best we can, and the intentions are there. And we've said to people, tell us if we're not getting it right. Tell us. Because I think that communication both ways is vital.
And I think that's paramount, isn't it? So over the next few weeks, you'll see change. And one of the questions to you was, what's been the biggest challenge? I think you've almost touched on that. So you're doing something which is pretty different to your usual way of working. Yeah. I think that biggest challenge is probably going to change, isn't it, over the coming weeks?
The initial biggest challenges were one, I should have had a haircut. Because I think things are going to go horribly wrong.
I don't have that issue.
I think I might be going that way just to get through this, telling the truth. Because otherwise I'm going to be rocking some sort of Leo Sayer impersonation by the end of that.
Yeah, I've threatened my son with clippers, with some clippers somewhere.
But that's the first one. The second one, seriously, was me. I was the biggest challenge to the whole thing. And there's no doubt about that. I am an old fossil who's grown up in the industry with an old-fashioned view. I want everyone in the office. I want to be able to see them. I want to be able to understand what they're doing, talk to them. I just feel more comfortable with everyone around me. And, you know, there are nice ways of looking at that. And I think I spoke to you, Sarah, the other day, and you made a very lovely point. You said, yeah, because you're so, you know, you love the team spirit, you love the culture, you want them all together. That's all true, but I'm also a bit of a control freak. And I need to acknowledge that I just like them all in one place at the same time. And actually, you know, the reaction last week when they went out and they started doing their thing at home, the reaction, the feedback, the results that we're getting last week was quite humbling, really, and really taught me a bit of a lesson that, you know, I talk a lot in the business about trusting people. But if that was absolutely 100% true, then I shouldn't have had any worries about this process. And they've actually taught me a little bit of a lesson this last week that maybe I need to loosen up. And who knows, it might change the way we work going forward. You know, it might be that burning platform that makes us jump to a different way of working. It's going to be interesting the way all companies, including us, come out the other side, because I think it will be altering. I think it will alter working practices in the months and years to come.
Agreed. And is there anything, if anything, that's been easier or run more smoother or more positive than you might have expected?
Yeah, I think certainly initially, I don't know, maybe the communication. I know this is an odd thing to say, but there are probably people I speak to more. I've spoken to more in the last week than I've spoken to, as in, you know, sat like this, face to face, chat to them, than I have done for weeks. You know, because I think because of the fear of under communicating and the desire to over communicate, we have communicated. We've gone to the trouble of communicating. So I think that has been easier than we expected it to be. I think, and doing business has been easier. I think with all the, you know, what's this going to do for us, the traditional ways of going and having meetings, etc. Actually, it's created a kinder environment between suppliers and clients. You know, we all understand we're in it together. There's a nicer atmosphere, I think. I think people are being more understanding and kind of, they're wanting to communicate more. So it's almost building relationships between us and our clients. Certainly, I think us and our clients are talking a lot more because they are keen for us to understand their challenges so we can help. We're keen to understand them so we can keep doing business with them. So it's meant there's a far less hierarchical relationship between clients and suppliers. And I think that's something we want to carry on with our suppliers when we come back into the normal world, if that ever happens. But I do think that's been easier. Doing business and communication have been the two bits that have been easier for me.
I think it was key for me, and that was kind of the next step that I was going to bring it on to. How has that client-supplier relationship changed? And actually, moving forward now, you've touched on it there, how different life will be once we go back to normal. Will you be more productive? Have you seen a shift in that client relationship? And if anything, what have you put any specific changes in place for your clients now? Or is it very much, as you've said, business as usual? Is this how you've always operated?
Yeah, I think it's business as usual as much as we're doing the same thing, we're just having to deliver that service in a different way. So, you know, whereas we would have done a lot of face-to-face stuff, where we would have been a lot of meetings where, you know, that was the driver to go out and see people, we're having to do that on, you know, methods like this, where we're having to actually speak to people over the internet and over Zoom. But I think whereas in the normal world previously, I think there was a slight stigma against conducting meetings in this way. And what I mean by that is, if you said to a client invited 4 of you to come and pitch for some business, and 3 said, you know, as you normally would, I'll come down and we'll take our slot and we will see you there and there'll be 3 of us there. I think now, and I think if the 4th one, out of those 4 said, no, I'll do it on video conferencing, I think they'd be at a slight disadvantage. I think a lot of clients would look at it and say, well, you haven't bothered to come and see us. And I think a lot of us are in that mindset that's, well, you know, they didn't actually take trouble to come and see us. I think that might change. I think that is changing. You know, this necessity to use this type of communication is breaking that down. It's becoming less strange. We've hardly ever used video conferencing. Now we're using it every day. It's becoming second nature to flick the screen on and speak to someone. And I think as that is becoming more normal, that may change the way we do business with people going forward. I think there is definitely also this change in relationship where our clients, our clients are always have been great with us. We've really not really ever lost a client, and I think that's because we give a good service, and we also get to know the client. But I think it's opened that communication channel up a lot more, and I think it's taught us a lesson just how important this communication is with the client, understanding what their issues are. And I think maybe, I'd like to say the other way around, that clients may think we'll get more out of a supplying company by being more open with them, by telling them our challenges, and by actually helping them solve the solutions, rather than maybe being a bit, we'll drip feed information and it's your problem. This is creating a little bit more of a we're all in it together spirit. And I think what's going to be interesting is, does that last the world going back to normal, or within 3 months, getting back to where it was before? That's, I think, the big test.
Time will tell.
And I think we've seen that with talking across industries, that the way that people are operating, you've touched on it, people are very much, we are one together, we are all in this together. And I think only by maintaining that and the community spirit that we're seeing at the moment, and the wheels of business that continue to turn, will that maintain. I think everybody's very keen for the economy to maintain where it is. We're all expecting a slight dip, but then there are, we touched on it, a number of sectors that are going to perform incredibly well currently. But I think you're quite right. I think it could be the death of the travelling salesman, so to speak.
It could be, and I think what will make that stick, and I think what will make that last the test of time, is if it proves successful. It's like anything, isn't it? If we go through this and it doesn't work very well, people will go back to what they knew. If this is better, the clever people will say, hey, there's a different way of doing things and we need to embrace it. And look, I've said, I've been in that position. I've had people come to me and say to me so many times, can we at least have some people working from home? No, it's not the way I do it. That doesn't work for me. We've always been successful not doing it. Leave it. So, I'm not that much of a dictator, but in not so many words. And so leave it, we'll carry on doing it the way we do it. But if there is irrefutable evidence that some people are working better because they're in a happier mindset, they've got more control over their lives, they've got more control over their day, and that makes them happier, maybe there's a blend or whatever that works better that we would never have investigated unless this crisis had hit us.
Well, I think we touched on it before. It's travelling the length of the country for an hour's meeting is now almost wasted time. You could, for the length of time, you could have 3-4 important closing pitch meetings rather than travelling the length of the country by car or by train. Are we now to become a more productive and effective organisations? Are we going to see improved performance? I think you're quite right. Time will tell, and very much mindset and the level of support that the leaders within businesses. You said you've already got a strong senior leadership team and a hierarchy that works within there. If motivation and management and leadership can be maintained, and productivity can be consistent, I think we are on the edge of a completely new working structure, embracing the technology that's certainly available now and coming through.
And I think, sorry, John.
It does work. Sorry, Sarah, but if this does work, then we'll push for the technology to get better and better, because business will demand this gets sharper, better, easier to use, more flexible. So, we could be, as you say, beginning of a bit of a revolution with this type of communication.
I think one thing that it most definitely will do will level things out a little bit for those who aren't technically minded and would never have jumped on a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago. We've had conversations and supported clients and, associates and people through who aren't necessarily inclined to jump on a video call like this and wouldn't know where to start. I think it's forcing hands of people that are of that kind of, nope, don't do technology, just give me a call instead. That is a must, because I don't think you can avoid it.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
John, just one other thing, really. You spoke very kindly, I suppose, and warmly of Neuven, almost feeling a bit of very much a family and your baby and you being the dad. I noticed that you made a very generous donation to the Manchester Foundation Trust, which was very, very heartwarming. Certainly at such a time. What was your decision behind that? Not to, but I just think it's such a great thing to do.
Yeah, it was, look, it's in the scheme of things, it's a pretty small gesture, with what they're facing and where they are at the moment. It's a drop in the ocean. I think we got to a point where, so a lot of our clients are in the healthcare sector,
Right. Okay.
and they are dealing daily with this frontline, face-to-face, having to deal with it, put themselves at risk, and that's a hell of a strain. We talk about a strain. I talk about a strain about getting my head around sending people home to work. These people are going out every day and facing this thing, head on, and dealing with the consequences of that. And we deal with a lot. We're actually denoted as key workers for some of our clients because we're in the supply chain for the large pharmacies who are our clients, and also for the large food distribution companies. So we see it. We see the effort they're putting in, and they really are heroes. All of them involved in that. So we just thought, what can we do? Can we do anything that we can do to give them that boost? One of the things we're doing as a business, some of my guys have done this off their own bat. They're actually helping recruit drivers for the pharmacies to give out scripts without us charging a margin for that. That's something they decided to do. A couple of my guys have said they will go out and do that. Now, this is not a Neuven initiative. I'd be very wrong of me to claim that. These are individuals doing it off their own bat. So we thought, what can we do as a company? Or I thought, what can we do as a company? So the big cry are you seeing on the news every day is PPP and all this protective gear that they need to be protect themselves. So we just thought we'd make a donation to our local trust to hopefully help that. Very, very small, but hopefully it was a gesture to show we're behind them. Really.
Brilliant. Well, testament to the people that you have around you and the people that you have working for you. And I think at times like this, if everybody can do a little bit to bring the country close together, everybody should really do what they can.
We raised a glass to them in the virtual pub on Friday as well. So that was good.
Again, another initiative where you maintaining that communication with people, friends, colleagues, groups. The more having a phone call is great. Being able to see someone's face through this new technology of a virtual environment, I think carries so much more weight. Being able to see a friend's face. And an expression to a poorly told joke or...
Yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Massively.
And you can misinterpret an email or a text because you don't see the facial expression.
Yeah.
You don't on this. You can see what someone is meaning.
Brilliant. John, obviously you're a very busy man. We'd like to thank you for coming on today. Amazing to hear what Neuven are doing and supporting the key workers and the key worker supply chain. And good luck to the future. Look forward to seeing what you can do over the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, I'll come back on in 10 years. But thank you very, very, very much for the opportunity. It's been great talking to you. And you guys stay safe, yeah?
Thank
Fantastic.
you, and thank you for being so honest and open as well, John. I think a lot of what you said today will resonate with many of our network and clients and viewers on both parts. So thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, John.
Bye now.
Good day.
Bye.